This week's author is Erica Obe. Erica didn't provide a pre-roll as she is buried in her newest projects, so we wrote one for her. A favorite of Mysteries to Die For, Erica's backlist includes 2 mystery series. The Brooklyn North Murders is the first case for librarian Mary Watson and her touchy know-it-all bot, Doyle. Okay, so Doyle's one of my favorites. All the characters in that series are my favorites. But Doyle, I kind of hear his voice with the mix of Stewie from The Family Guy and everybody who has ever played Sherlock Holmes. And then there's her Hudson Valley Mysteries, which are standalones set in her beloved Hudson Valley, where Erica says the bounds between past and present, real and imaginary, magic and illusion are very thin.
I
What?
really wasn't ready for you to start. I didn't realize that was the end.
Well, I was like, wow, you're really getting fancy.
Yeah, no. It's called
Welcome.
confusion.
Should I? Are you going to go again, or should I
Welcome to Mysteries to Die For.
say it? I am TG Wolff, and I'm here with Jack, my piano player and producer. This is a podcast where we combine storytelling with original music to put you at the heart of a mystery. All of our stories are structured to challenge you to beat the detective to the solution. Jack and I perform these live, front to back, no breaks, no fakes, no retakes. The rules for law and order create the boundaries for civil coexistence, and ideally, the backdrops for individuals, families, and companies to grow and thrive. Breaking these rules puts civil order at risk. And while murder is the big daddy of crimes, codified ordinances across municipal divisions, counties, states, and countries show the nearly endless ways there are to create mayhem. This season, we put our detective skills to the test with murderless crimes. This is Season 8, Anything But Murder. We welcome you to Episode 17, where art theft is the featured crime. This is Was It a Vermeer? By Erica Obe. All right, Jack, what are we using for our backdrop today?
All right. So it's a bunch of rich, posh people, which I don't know that for certain, but it's art theft. We can assume. So originally, I thought, strings, that's perfect. What kind of string instrument would rich, posh people like to lavish themselves in? And that'd be a harp. So we had this harp setting, but it's not very full. Like, I feel like you guys, the listeners, are just like, you wouldn't hear it well enough. So
or you'd fall asleep because it's so tranquil.
Yeah. So then I found this other setting called harps and strings, where you have that initial attack from the harp, but then you have that follow through and that sustain from the strings.
We're learning more musical words.
That
Last episode, we learned about attack. Now we're getting attack and, what did you call it?
Sustain.
Sustain.
Well, there's, let's see if I can remember. There is, when you make a note in music, there is like 4 points. There's attack, which is the very first part, and then you have, it's an R word, and it slopes down, and then it has more of the sustain, and so it evens back out, it plateaus, and then, wow, I really should have looked this up before I started talking.
You know what? Next episode, we are going to have this down. That is your homework for this episode.
It's on my effects. I can see it right here. So we have attack, and then you have the hold. That's how long your attack is held. And then you have your release. Your release is at the very end. There's also one little bit in the middle I can't remember. But I'm going to shut up because I don't think this is being taught well enough for any of you to learn anything.
Well, we know now about attack and sustain.
Yeah.
And then there's other parts that we don't know about yet.
Yes, it's a mystery. You'll find out next time.
It is a mystery, which
maybe.
is perfect for Mysteries to Die For.
Yeah. All right. So the last couple episodes, I won't lie, my music has been on point. I might not have been mixed amazingly, but my music's been on point. I've been pretty proud of myself. We're going to see if we can keep that up for this episode.
Let's do it.
I'll probably fail. I shouldn't have pointed it out. I jinxed myself, but here we go.
The eye test. At first glance, given the eye test, as an appraiser would put it, The painting certainly looked a Vermeer. Maggie Fletcher ticked off a mental checklist of the classic elements. An interior illuminated by a light source through a window. A gentle domestic scene, this one of a mother nursing an infant. An ordinary woman endowed with a mystical beauty, her eyes focused on a vision somewhere just beyond the viewer's ken. As in all Vermeer's work, the woman was the painting's focal point. If not for the brass label that read St. Dismas, you might not have noticed the dark figure reaching toward the painting on the rear wall, which showed Christ being crucified between Justus and Dismas, the two thieves. The painting unquestionably had all the hallmarks of a Vermeer. What was far more questionable was how it had found itself here in the collection of Yancey Phelps, an American robber baron whose business practices were as rapacious as his art collecting. Yancey had built Phelps Hall, a unique monument to himself, but such places were a dime a dozen in Hudson Valley. And with so many other families, as soon as Yancey's son had inherited the hall and his father's spectacularly mediocre art collection, he lost it in a high-stakes poker game run by the mob. Since then, it had served as a gambling den, a finishing school, and an ashram. During the last phase, the exterior had been painted with the spangled constellations that still glinted no matter how many times the walls had been power washed. In the end, a devout mobster had donated the white elephant to the diocese on his deathbed, and Phelps Hall now served as a retreat house and global headquarters for a little-known order called the Sodality of St. Dismas. Maggie guessed that the woman who had just shown her into the visitation room was a member of the Sodality, although she looked much more like a college professor or curator in her crisp pantsuit, without so much as a discreet crucifix to attest to her religious status. "Thank you so much, sister." "Doctor," the woman corrected her. "Sister Scholastica is the only professed nun left in the order. I'm Monica Thomas, a diocesan lawyer, or canon lawyer if you prefer." "So you're not an actual lawyer?" Maggie asked. She hadn't meant to sound rude, but Barry was already furious with her for going to Phelps Hall. He was likely to go ballistic if the first person he met when he got here was a lawyer. "If you're asking whether I went to law school, as a matter of fact, I did. Yale Law still reminds me of that fact when it's soliciting donations," she said with an ironic smile. "But if you're asking whether a canon lawyer trains at a secular law school, the answer is no. Canon lawyers enroll in, oh boy, here's a hard word. We're just going to skip it. Sorry, Erica. In a program, and the degree they are granted is a JCL or JCD, not a JD. I personally am a JUD, Juris Utriusque Doctor, which means a doctor of both laws. But when you say canon lawyer, everyone assumes you spend your days seeking a posthumous pardon for Galileo, which, by the way, was only the right thing to do. But that's not why you're here, is it?" No, it's not," Maggie answered Dr. Thomas distractedly, suddenly transfixed by the painting that stood on the gilt easel in the middle of the visitation room. This isn't an icon," she said when she was finally able to speak. "No," Dr. Thomas agreed. "No, it is not. I was sent here to appraise an icon of St. Dismas." Maggie pulled out her phone to double-check the paperwork. The claim says specifically that it's an icon, and it was stolen from Phelps Hall approximately 6 months ago. Unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about that," Dr. Thomas said. "Sister Scholastica is willing to swear she never filed such a claim, and I have no reason to doubt her word. The diocese only found out when you made an appointment to visit." Which was beginning to feel like the worst decision Maggie Fletcher had ever made in the 29 years of her existence. Barry Wolff, the CEO of the Wolff Group Appraisals and Art Management, had made it abundantly clear that Maggie's job was to maintain endless computer spreadsheets in the co-working cubicle he had hired her for, while he gadded about pressing flesh in Abu Dhabi or Basel or whatever other art show he was frequenting this weekend. But what was Maggie supposed to do when one of the company's wealthiest investors called on her personal phone demanding that she double-check the appraisal on the recent insurance claim on a stolen icon, as well as forwarding him any similar appraisals conducted by the Wolff Group over the last 5 years? When Maggie had protested that she had no authority to do any of that, Rublev had rattled off all of the company passwords and assured her that Barry knew all about it. Phelps Hall was only a 20-minute drive from Maggie's cubicle. What harm could it possibly do to visit? Now, she was staring straight at the answer to that question. She reached for her phone unhappily as she considered how to explain to Barry that they were dealing with a thief who had apparently stolen an icon optimistically appraised at $5,000 and replaced it with the Vermeer. Barry Wolff was not going to be happy. I just want to say that Erica wins the prize for using big and hard words that makes me look them up. And obviously, I failed to look one up, so I apologize for not knowing how to pronounce whatever those Latin words are.
They're big ones, I tell you what. And we get it in quite a few stories where they're like, hey, you want to casually read this big word? And the thing is that if you were reading a real book and there's a big word in there, you wouldn't even bother trying to pronounce it in your head. You would just come up with your own name for it, you know? That looks hard. It's jerry can now.
But I did. I spent a good amount of time, pulling out the hard words and practicing saying them. I was really happy that I did not stumble at all over
that Latin for the
juris
doctor.
Utrisque.
Yeah, but then the sentence before that threw a curveball.
Nope. I was like, well, you either... Yeah, I was going to butcher that. By the way, I think Ken Harris wins the record for making me say the word fuck the most time in a story.
He does that a lot.
You would have won the record for getting me to say the word cock most times in the story, but you had to read that one.
Yeah. I'm proud of that.
You're proud of that.
Nah, actually, that's creepy. But nonetheless, we'll move on. But cool, yeah. The next chapter.
Legal and ethical claims. So it's a painting, not an icon. It's still St. Dismas. Barry's voice was barely audible over the traffic on the New York State Thruway. The nuns got it wrong, no surprise there. They're all half senile, right? Maggie didn't waste time pointing out that Dr. Thomas seemed anything but senile. Let Barry find out for himself when he got here. But the insurance claim is for an icon, not a painting. It says so specifically. There is no icon of St. Dismas here. Well, of course not. The insurance claim says it was stolen. Barry paused, then said accusingly, and you still haven't explained to me what the hell you're doing there in the first place. It was a very good point, and one that had been nagging ever since she had driven over to appease Alexei Rublev. How was she supposed to appraise something that wasn't there? If the claim was that the artwork had been stolen, why not send a security expert instead? But Barry was angry enough with Maggie already. She didn't need to add any fuel to the flames. There is no icon of St. Dismas or anyone else in Phelps Hall, she repeated. However, there is a painting of St. Dismas that no one has ever seen before. And at least at first glance, it seems to be a signed Vermeer. You're telling me you just found a missing Vermeer? Barry snorted. I don't see how you can call it missing when the painting is right here, Maggie said. The silence that followed was so thunderous that Maggie was certain she was about to be fired on the spot. But then Barry said, All right, I'm on my way up from the airport, but I'm balled up in the Woodbury traffic. You just sit tight till I get there. Sit on your hands if you need to, but do not touch anything else. You've already caused enough trouble. Material analysis. Not for the first time, Maggie found herself wondering why she didn't just chuck it all and teach high school instead. Like every starry-eyed grad student who pursued a doctorate in art history, she set out to follow in the footsteps of Thomas Hoving, trotting the globe to unearth hereto unknown masterpieces in abandoned monasteries and suburban attics. But Thomas Hoving had the advantage of being independently wealthy, as well as living in a kinder and gentler time. Freshly minted PhDs like Maggie quickly discovered that no matter how groundbreaking reviews had considered her dissertation, there was little one could do with a doctorate in art history other than work as an appraiser by day and teach at a local community college by night. The worst part was, neither was a job she could afford to lose, and right now she was worried that was exactly what she'd done. Barry was clearly furious with her when all she had done was try to help the company's biggest backer. It was completely unfair, but there was no use protesting that to Barry. All she could do was wait and hope that Barry's wrath would dissipate on the drive up from the airport. She spent the time searching for any information she could find about Vermeer and icons. At the very least, she might as well look informed when Barry showed up. When she had done as much as she could, she went back to studying the painting. It seemed unlikely that it was really a Vermeer. Her searches had turned up no St. Dismas in the known canon of his work, or even among the best-known forgeries. Still, what would it feel like if it really was one, and Maggie was the one to discover it? Oh my, a new voice snapped her back to reality. That's new. Maggie whirled, then relaxed when she saw the whipple and veil of a woman clad in a sweeping black habit with a crucifix knotted at her waist. I'm terribly sorry if I disturbed you. I was just doing a little work in the treasury. The nun nodded ruefully at the dusty hem of her skirt. I'm Sister Scholastica. Maggie Fletcher, she said, introducing herself. I hate to bother you, but can you tell me anything about this painting? Oh, no, my dear. I've never seen it in my life, and I'm in the treasury every day. There's a treasury at Phelps Hall? Maggie asked, again in some surprise. Well, it used to be a wine cellar, but it was really so inconvenient running down there any time one wanted a little nip. Sister Scholastica blinked at her. Now we have such wonderful treasures there. A tooth from St. Margaret's dragon, a reliquary of St. Dismas' finger. That was said to be the model for Christ pointing in the calling of St. Matthew. One senses Caravaggio was having his little joke. Caravaggio was said to be quite the ruffian, you see. There was a commotion out in the entry hall that sounded much like a charging rhino. And then Barry was bearing down on Maggie with the full force of his fury. Dr. Thomas followed in a rat-a-tat-tat of sensible heels. What the hell have you gotten yourself into? Barry demanded. I'm sorry, Maggie stammered. I was acting on Mr. Rublev's instructions. What instructions? And what the hell did Al Rublev want with you? He wanted an immediate appraisal of an icon of St. Dismas here at Phelps Hall, Maggie said. He said it was urgent and had to be done today. Barry glared around the room as if Alexei Rublev might be hiding in a corner. What icon? I don't see any icons. That's the thing, see? Maggie said, eager to explain herself. I didn't find any icon. But what I did find was this. She pointed to the painting. What the hell is that? Barry demanded. It's supposed to be St. Dismas too, Maggie said. She paused, then added more tentatively, it might be a Vermeer. You're telling me this is a Vermeer? Barry demanded. I'm not telling you anything. I mean, it honestly doesn't seem likely. When Maggie got nervous, her words tumbled out helter-skelter, and Barry's fury released an avalanche. There is no St. Dismas among the 34 documented Vermeers, or the score of other pieces whose authenticity is in question. In fact, Vermeer painted remarkably few religious subjects. The only two documented among his mature work, Christ in the House of Mary and Martha and the Allegory of Faith. You can impress me with your dissertation later. Barry sighed. Right now, I need you to. What about Christ and the adulteress, and Jesus among the doctors? Said Dr. Thomas, quietly. No, those are well-known forgeries, Maggie said. Then she saw what Dr. Thomas was suggesting. For the two forgeries she had just mentioned were among the best known in the world. They had both been painted by Hans van Meegeren, who became a folk hero when he passed off his forgeries to gullible Nazis like Hermann Göring, to whom he sold the genuinely awful Christ with the Adulteress. When van Meegeren was brought to trial after the war, he defended himself by claiming that he had created deliberately obvious fakes to protect genuine old masters from being looted. To prove his point, he painted Jesus among the doctors while he was in jail. Wait, Maggie said. What if it isn't a Vermeer, but it is a Van Meegeren? Who cares? Barry snapped. Look, I've got a problem here. But Maggie was consumed with the new idea, and her fingers flew across her phone. Even if it's only a known Van Meegeren forgery, it would still be worth far more than the $5,000 in insurance claim. The current estimates begin at $100,000. What claim? Who the hell filed an insurance claim? Barry demanded. Well, now, that very much seems to be the question, Dr. Thomas told him. Well, the claim is right here in our databases, Maggie said to Barry, but it was for an icon. I don't care what the hell it was for, Barry exploded. Who in the hell told you to appraise it? Language, Sister Scholastica tisked, reminding everyone that she was there. I already told you. Mr. Rublev did, Maggie said. He told me it was urgent. Why the hell was Al Rublev calling you? Barry demanded. I suppose because he couldn't reach you, Maggie said. He said if you weren't going to pull the trigger, he would. Pull the trigger on what? Barry began, but once again, Dr. Thomas interrupted him. Am I to assume you are referring to Alexei Rublev, who has bought up every available parcel of land along the river to build a Four Seasons luxury resort? Every parcel, that is, except the ones owned by Phelps Hall? She asked. And am I right to infer that Mr. Rublev enjoys a private relationship with your company? The Wolff Group has always conducted its business with full transparency. Barry launched into a verbiage straight from the report to shareholders. I'm not ashamed to say that Al Rublev is a good friend, as well as a valued member of our advisory board. But I have no idea why he might have sent Maggie out to conduct an appraisal on a lost Dismas icon. Of course he didn't. You don't have to undergo a decade of Jesuit formation to see the logical fallacy there. A new voice echoed from the doorway, announcing the lean figure of a priest in a broad-brimmed hat. A pectoral cross glinted on his chest beneath the dog collar. How on earth can you appraise something that isn't there? Even the angelic doctor himself would have trouble with that one, and he could tell you how many angels danced on the head of a pin. Who the hell are you? Barry asked. The priest removed his hat and proffered an embossed calling card. Father Hugh Sinclair, Vatican Museum. I have been sent personally by the Holy Father to investigate the theft of St. Dismas, if such a statement is not an oxymoron, which I very much fear it must be. Or perhaps merely a paradox, which is, of course, the highest form of our faith. For as the great Augustine has said himself, God judged it better to bring the good out of evil than to suffer no evil to exist. Barry cut him off with a tight smile. No offense to your learned disquisition, Father, but I'm afraid the Vatican has sent you out here on a wild goose chase. This is a simple matter of a claim adjustment for a theft report that has already been filed by the Sisters of St. Dismas. The problem seems to be that no one ever filed a claim, Dr. Thomas interrupted him, for an icon or a Vermeer. There's a Vermeer? In Phelps Hall? Father Sinclair raised an eyebrow. Why, that sounds like a miracle if you ask me. The Holy Father will be delighted.
Yeah, he will be. I find it funny that the Pope got involved. I don't know. Something about that tickles my bones. Isn't that weird? How did he find out? I didn't think this was this broadcasted? Who found out? Who told who? How did the Pope find out?
All questions that you will ponder during the deliberation.
I know who it is. The Pope.
It's the Pope.
It's the Pope. All right, let's find out. Let's read about how the Pope did it. He better be one of the suspects in the deliberation. Wouldn't that be amazing?
To have him
that would
as a
put
suspect?
Conclave in a whole new light as a movie. My gosh. All right, let's do it. Well, you know what? Our Pope is from Chicago. I feel like if any Pope is going to do it, it's the guy who could be drinking. Oh, what was his name?
What?
Malort. The god awful alcohol from. Whoops, my bad. No pun intended. God awful alcohol from Chicago. It's like licking a dumpster, and I've taken shots of it twice. It's disgusting, but amazing. And I hope the Holy Father makes some, like, can he do communion with Malort?
I think we need to get back to the
Okay.
story.
Well, wouldn't it be funny?
You have gone down a rabbit hole.
I would just sit in the congregation watching people go up, here's the holy blood, and their whole face just like melts inside of itself as they walk away coughing.
You can
People
put
in
that
the
in
back
one of
would
your
just like be
stories.
talking like, what is happening?
That sounds totally like something that Detective Connolly would do.
Thank you, Erica. I have a lot of motivation now, thanks to a singular chapter in your short story. It's beautiful. Let's do it.
Signature and mark analysis. Of course it's not a Vermeer, Barry snapped. Don't be ridiculous. Oh, then you know something about our missing icon? Dr. Thomas asked with studied surprise. Should I then assumed it was you who filed the insurance claim in the first place? We've been wrecking our brains trying to figure it out. All we know for certain is that no one at Phelps Hall did. I don't know anything about any insurance claims for an icon or anything else, Barry said, and neither does my girl. I don't know what she was thinking coming here. I told you. Mr. Rublev asked me, and the claim for the icon was right there in our database, along with the others, Maggie protested, immediately earning herself a quelling look from Barry. Our company records are kept confidential for a reason, he said, and Mary bit her lip. She really needed this job. How stupid had she been to contradict her boss in front of everyone? Well, I don't see how you could expect anyone to keep silent if they discovered a new Vermeer, Father Sinclair asked. I myself would be shouting it from the rooftop. Who the hell are you anyway? Barry snapped. And what's your angle here? Father Sinclair raised an eyebrow. I'm Father Hugh Sinclair from the Vatican Museum, as I believe I have already informed you. We've received reports that a valuable icon has gone missing from the sodality, and the Holy Father sent me personally to investigate. It's just like the parable of the Good Shepherd. The Holy Father must search for the least of his sheep as carefully as if the Sistine Chapel itself was stolen. Maggie winced as an angry flush mounted Barry's face. Do not play games with me, he warned, stabbing a finger at Sinclair. You have no idea what you're dealing with here. Well, I do. The doors to the visitation room slammed open once more, and Alexei Rublev thundered in with a befuddled-looking state trooper bobbling in his wake. We're dealing with nothing less than beating heart of money laundering network run by the Vatican Bank, which uses insurance fraud and accounting scams to legitimize billions of ill-gotten dollars each year. A moment's thunderous silence greeted his announcement. Then Barry spoke, biting off his syllables one at a time. What the hell are you doing here? What do you think I'm doing here? This was your plan all along, and it's a good one, so why dither? Time to pull the trigger. Rublev turned to the trooper, who was doing his best to look invisible. I've filed all the necessary paperwork for a restraining order pending a complete investigation of insurance fraud and money laundering here at Phelps Hall. Sergeant Grady, will you cordon off this site and escort all non-authorized personnel out of here? The state trooper reached uncertainly for his handcuffs, but his eyes remained fixed on the nun in the penguin suit. Morning, Sister Scholastica, he muttered, shifting foot to foot. Morning, Anthony Grady. The nun's rheumy eyes grew sharp. And what have you gotten yourself mixed in now? Nothing, Sister Scholastica. I mean, he fumbled for his handcuffs. By the order of the town justice, I must ask you all to leave. Of course, we're happy to cooperate fully with any lawfully issued court order, Dr. Thomas cut in. However, it is my understanding that the town justice has no authority over felony cases, which insurance fraud most certainly is. May I examine the court order, please? She held out her hand. In response, Grady did his best impression of Bambi, staring straight into the headlights of a Peterbilt. Now, let's all calm down. Barry stepped in hastily. We're all friends and neighbors here. Not neighbors for much longer, thank God. These people are nothing but a bunch of criminals who've been laundering money for the Vatican Bank for years, Rublev said. But this time, we've got them dead to rights. Sergeant, I want you to take that icon into evidence before you do anything else. Which icon? The sergeant said. I don't see. That one! Rublev whirled toward the easel, only to find himself pointing at the painting. What the hell is that? He demanded. That, Mr. Rublev, seems to be the question that no one here can answer, Dr. Thomas said. But since you seem particularly well informed about our collections, perhaps you can shed some light on the issue. I don't know anything about your painting, and I've got no time to worry about paintings. Rublev spun on Barry. This was your setup. What the hell is going on? I thought it was supposed to be an icon. What's this painting doing here? The trooper prudently seized the chance to move out of the range of the gunfire and folded his arms in a wide-legged stance to indicate he was there on official business. Father Sinclair raised an eyebrow. Well, it's a rather professional obligation for me to at least suggest that perhaps we have witnessed a miracle. St. Dismas himself has returned in the form of this painting to protect the convent that venerates him. There is no Dismas, Rublev snapped. This is just a fraudulent insurance appraisal. Oh no, you're quite wrong. Dismas is very real. Sister Scholastica spoke out of nowhere. I've seen him many times down in the treasury. At first, I thought he was an apparition, but an apparition can't move a reliquary casket. Now, can he? Provident scrutiny. No, an apparition couldn't move a reliquary casket. But a flesh and blood master thief certainly could. Maggie's thoughts began to race. What if the rumors were true? What if there really was a Vatican Bank operative known only as Dismas, operating out of Phelps Hall? A stately home, especially one with uncertain record-keeping, was a perfect setup. And our collection's value depended on what was called gray money. Assets like artworks, whose value could fluctuate wildly since it was determined only by how much a buyer was willing to pay. It was a perfect opportunity for accounting fraud. Once more, Maggie's fingers flew across her phone, this time pulling up records she had emailed to Rublev. Okay, look, I think I know what's going on, she said, holding out her phone for everyone to see. It's right here in these files, if you know how to look at them. The theft of the icon was only the first step in the money laundering operation. Here's how it's done. First, you buy an artwork for $5,000. Or in this case, you find one in the treasury of Phelps Hall. You have it appraised and then report it stolen. Once the insurance company pays out your claim, you use the money to buy a similar sounding item to replace it. In this case, you replace the icon with a painting of St. Dismas that you bought for about the same amount. Suddenly, the new item is, quote, discovered to be far more valuable, a Vermeer in this case, and is reappraised at that value. You can then sell the painting and claim a windfall that looks legitimate because the sudden increase in value can be demonstrated to arise from the misattribution. In the silence that fell, Barry couldn't take his eyes from the data on her phone. Where did you get that? It's all right here, in our databases. What does that prove? It's proof positive of what's going on here. Rublev jumped in before Maggie could answer. The Vatican Bank is behind this place, just like I've been saying all along. But Maggie wasn't quite as satisfied. Not after she'd seen the look on Barry's face when he saw the files she had sent to Rublev. Once more, her thoughts began to race. What if Rublev was only half right? What if someone was laundering money out of Phelps Hall, but it was not the Vatican Bank? What if a criminal mastermind who called himself Dismas was running an entire network under the cover of the sodality that bore his name? And what if that master thief was her own boss? Why else would he be so upset that she had sent Rublev the records he had asked for? What other reason could the records be in the company computers in the first place? Visions of her unpaid student loans danced before her eyes. She really, really needed this job. She drew in a deep breath. With all due respect, I'm not entirely sure it's the Vatican Bank. Of course it isn't the Vatican, Sister Scholastica said. That would be a terrible lot of muddle for nothing, when you can simply sell mass cards for funerals and then not really send up the prayers. Now, sister, don't go telling secrets out of the confessional, Father Sinclair chided her with a grin. It strikes me as it's far more likely that the work is a crooked appraiser helping a friend manufacture evidence against the sodality of St. Dismas, Dr. Thomas said, in order to have the grounds to evict them and seize their lands for himself. Was she right? Was that what Rublev meant when he said he was talking about pulling the trigger? Had Maggie helped to frame a blameless order of nuns just so Alexei Rublev could steal their land? But could the sodality really be that blameless? Couldn't two things be true at once? Couldn't there really be a thief named Dismas operating out of Phelps Hall, maybe even on behalf of the Vatican Bank? Maggie glanced at the priest. Was Father Hugh Sinclair Dismas? He seemed to know a lot about a missing icon for someone freshly arrived from the Vatican. Why was Maggie so quick to assume the nuns weren't part of this as well? Why couldn't Dr. Thomas be as masterful a criminal as she was a canon lawyer? And wasn't Sister Scholastica a shade too good to be true? Once Maggie's thoughts began to run in that direction, she found it impossible to stop. What about the cop? Could the stoic state trooper, in fact, be a deep undercover operative? Or maybe Alexei Rublev was a thief as well as a real estate shark, and he was framing Phelps Hall as an elaborate double-blind. Maybe even Barry. No, her mind rebelled against Barry. She glanced around the room, appraising each person in turn, suddenly certain that one of these people was a master thief who called himself Dismas. The only question was, which one?
I don't know. I don't got a clue. This is wow. Huh. Okay. I don't know.
Before we started recording, Jack asked me what this was about, and I said, well, it's about art theft, but it's a complicated story.
Yeah.
There's an elegance and a beauty in it, though, too.
Yeah, there's something in it. It's called hard.
It's called hard.
Yeah.
Well, Maggie Fletcher has thieves to the left of her, nuns to the right, and she needs our help to clear up this holy rolling path.
And she's stuck in the middle with you.
Yes,
with
she
me,
is.
Really. Us. We're in it together, guys.
So who is the thief known as Dismas? Here are the suspects in the order we meet them.
All right.
Dr. Thomas, a canon lawyer who can take on and take down any real estate lawyer out there.
Okay, Dr. T.
Mr. Barry Wolff, owner of the Wolff Group, art appraisers, and Maggie's boss.
He's a bit of a asshole.
Sister Scholastica, caretaker of Phelps Treasury and seemingly the only member of the mysterious sodality of St. Dismas.
She sounds like the coolest Marvel villain.
Dr. Hugh Sinclair, investigator for the Vatican Museum. Or is he?
He just showed up.
He just showed up.
I really don't trust that guy.
Mr. Alexei Rublev, main investor for the Wolff Group and a real estate developer with his eye on the property owned by Phelps Hall.
Yeah, he's another asshole.
It seems to be your favorite word to describe some of the
Wait,
suspects.
Did you include the security guard?
No, I did not include
Oh,
the
okay.
this. I think he's a state trooper,
The
not a.
state trooper. You're right. The state
Yeah,
trooper.
he
He's
has
a nifty
he has
character, though.
authority.
He does. Kind of.
Kind
He's
of.
a sheepish authority, you know?
Here are the facts the way Maggie understands them.
Okay.
When Alexei Rublev cannot reach Barry Wolff, who is returning from an overseas trip, he calls Maggie and orders her to appraise an icon of St. Dismas that was stolen from Phelps Hall, as well as demanding that she send him all of the Wolff Group's records about an insurance claims involving the Vatican Museum.
Interesting. Why does he need so much information on the Vatican Museum?
Rublev justifies his demands by saying that if Barry won't pull the trigger, Rublev will pull it for him.
I don't know what that means. I won't lie. That one went over my head.
Unsure of what Rublev meant by that.
Okay, I see.
Maggie does what Rublev asks, emailing him the records and going to Phelps Hall to conduct the appraisal.
Okay, that sounds good.
When she arrives at Phelps Hall, she finds what seems to be a far more valuable painting than the icon, which no one knows anything about.
Yeah.
For the first time, it occurs to her how odd it is to be asked to appraise an item that isn't there.
It is. It is really weird.
The first time I read this story, I'm like, how could she appraise it? It wasn't there. Then I kept reading it. She's like, how could I appraise something that wasn't there? I'm like, exactly, Maggie. I'm right with you.
If you guys heard that low rumble, we have a storm happening outside.
Nice. It's so hot. We need some rain.
Yeah, so there's some thunder rattle in the house.
When Wolff arrives from overseas, he is unfairly furious with Maggie.
Yeah, I don't really get that. That fury to me might be he is mad Maggie went to go do it and he couldn't go do it because he's the mastermind.
Wolff gets even more furious when Rublev shows up with a state trooper, claiming that the stolen icon is evidence that Phelps Hall is nothing but a money laundering operation for the Vatican Bank, and demands that Phelps Hall be shut down.
This seems a little overkill to what has happened, but I understand, I guess.
Rublev is accused by Dr. Thomas of looking for an excuse to shut down Phelps Hall so he can buy their land. Maggie remembers Rublev's comment about pulling the trigger and wonders whether he and Barry were colluding in manufacturing evidence so he can indeed seize Phelps Hall.
Yeah, that whole thing, they're odd. They're weirdly mad at each other. There's clearly a tension. It's not sexual. It's weird.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone knows.
But there is also a great deal of evidence that in obeying Rublev's order, she has stumbled across a massive money laundering scheme run by a master thief named Dismas, and it may be connected to Phelps Hall.
Okay.
Certainly, no one at Phelps Hall is exactly what they seem.
Oh, even Sister Scholastica.
So, what the heck is going on here, Jack?
I don't know, dude. Oh my gosh, that didn't help.
The actual question is basically who is Dismas? Who's the mastermind behind it? Who is?
Okay. Well, let's go through it. I don't want it to be Scholastica, but she would be an awesome underdog. I won't lie. I wouldn't be too mad if it was her and I got it wrong. But I'm going to say no to her.
Okay, so we're coloring her red. No bueno. Okay.
Because
now you got 4.
To me, she does seem very dedicated to the church and to the facility, and that I don't think financing it and doing stuff through this illegal ring basically would be in her character.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you could Agatha Christie this and go, haha, her character doesn't matter. She's still an evil bitch. So I could be wrong.
But we're not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that. I want to know, because it says no one is what they seem, I want to know what her secret is, because she is an odd rooster, you know?
Would she be a hen?
Yeah, whatever. We've gone over this with the last rooster hen one I did. You'd think I'd be better at this. Okay.
How about Dr. Thomas?
I have no idea who Dr. Thomas is. She talked at the beginning, and then I feel like...
Yeah, she was throughout it. She's the lawyer that represents Phelps Hall and the artwork there.
Because there's 7 characters in the story. I there's a lot of talking.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There's 5 plus
6.
the other
Plus
2.
Maggie, plus the state trooper. Yes,
Yeah,
there's
so there's
7,
7.
5 of which are suspects.
And they're all in the same scene together. In a lot of stories, you can have 7, and that's not too bad because they're kept separate. These are all 7 in the same room together.
If I was better at doing different voices, maybe it would help you. But we've learned that I suck at that.
No. That's okay. This is going to be hard either way. It's a closed room mystery.
It is a closed.
With a lot of people in it.
So we have Dr. Thomas. So she's the lawyer. She's the one. Basically, she's saying she doesn't know what's going on here. That nobody within the sodality filed a insurance claim. They don't know where this painting came from.
Why is she there then? Who called her?
Well, she showed up when Maggie called to make the appointment to appraise the icon because nobody in the sodality had requested it. So based on when Maggie called, she herself inadvertently set off a chain of behaviors.
Huh.
That makes sense?
Yeah. So she called everyone, and this doctor was like, that doesn't exist. What are you talking about? So she showed up?
Yeah, so the lawyer showed up.
Okay. All right. Really, whoever the person is would have shown up, whether they, did it or whether they needed to be there or not. I don't think that sentence made sense, but it made sense to me.
Well, when Maggie made the appointment, somebody from Phelps Hall had to greet her. So it either would have been Sister Scholastica, who apparently is elderly with rheumy eyes.
Yeah.
And it does make sense that, that would have sent off yellow flags.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening within the church. I don't think it's Dr. T.
Okay. Dr. T is now red. Okay, where do you want to go next? We have Barry, Father Hugh, or Alexei Rublev.
Now, just to be clear, the last sentence said basically that one person is the person. So, am I safe in assuming I need to only pick one person? That silence speaks volumes.
That is correct. That's what it said.
Okay.
The only question was which one.
Okay, so which one?
See, Jack sometimes gets burned when it's like 2 and 3 people, so that's why he's
I mention
super
this
like...
every single episode. I swear. Every episode I'm like. Also, I feel like recently it's been a lot of let's screw Jack over. Let's put in 8 murderers. The last one was all of them.
It was, but there was one mastermind.
One mastermind. So it's these authors are like, haha, one guy? That's too easy for old Jackaboy. He can game that. But no, this is a good one. Okay, I don't think Alexei is the person.
Okay, we will color him red.
He's not doing 100% legal things. Like there's something sketchy going on with him. But I don't think he's the mastermind behind this, partially because I also don't think he's in the position to be making money off of this scheme.
So you think that he may indeed be trying to get a hold of the property,
He's
but he is
definitely
not
trying
the
to get a hold
master
of
thief
property.
dismissed.
Correct. He's
Okay.
definitely not a good person. He's trying to get the property, but there's no, to me, opportunity for him to be the mastermind.
Okay, so you're down to Barry and Father Hugh St. Clair.
And these are the two that get me, because Father Hugh seems like a strange apple. Like, why did he show up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did this information get out? It doesn't seem like it's been widespread.
The funny thing is you were like, who even called him? And then Maggie's like, how did he even find out?
Yeah. No,
You and Maggie, you're like simpatico.
I don't get how he's a part of this. If he is innocent and if he's not dismissed, then he is also a sketchy character. He might not be the forger, he might not be dismissed, but he's probably involved in the process. But I don't know. Barry has had a very strange reaction to all of this.
He has. He's been very aggressive.
He's very aggressive. To me, I think there are 2 people behind this that are creating this insurance fraud, and it is Barry and it is Mr. Sinclair or Father Sinclair. But I think if the question is who painted it, who is Dismas?
Well, again, Dismas isn't. We're not looking for an artist. Nobody who painted it,
Oh.
but who's like the mastermind. She described how the fraud works. That you buy one piece of art for, lesser amount of money, insure it, replace
Yeah.
it with something similar.
I'm gonna have to go with Father Sinclair. It doesn't feel right in my gut, but I don't see why he's there. He's not there for the Pope. That is false.
So you've taken the Pope off the suspect list?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
I want to know when this was written. I want to know if it was Pope Francis or Pope Leo. That is the suspect here. Because if it was written long enough ago, because these are written pretty far in advance to help, get the editing process solid and for the anthology. So I want to know, which Pope is he accusing?
I don't know. Don't remember.
Is it Mr. Malort? I don't know.
So you're going with Father Hugh?
Yeah, and if I'm wrong and it's Barry, then that's my fault. If it's someone else, then wow, I was just wrong.
All right.
To me, I think this is going to be the one that I've gotten.
You've
the
gotten
last
a couple. Yeah, you have.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good, but this is the one that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. So let's find out.
Well, before we do that, though, let's
Yes.
remind everybody
That we don't have ads, but we could. It's an option.
Jack keeps threatening.
I'll do it.
What we're asking you to do instead is to support our authors.
Yeah. Support
This
someone
week,
who's not us.
It's Erica Obe. Go to her website. Check her out on Amazon. She's got a great backlist, all different kinds of stories, from mysteries to some of the work that she did. I can't remember now what genre it is before she got into mysteries, but very sophisticated stories.
Something that's occurred to me.
What?
I've been threatening the listeners to give you ads if you don't go and read these other authors. I have no way of knowing if you're doing it or not. I'm not looking at their book
Their
sales.
numbers.
I have no clue. But if you don't do it, I'll find out somehow. I'll send a fake priest to your house, Father Sinclair, and he'll start looking around.
Well, if you
Kindles.
love this story and Erica's writing style, you'll love all of her books. So go to her website, check her out.
And if you're not sure, you can look at previous episodes she's done on the podcast.
That is true.
So if you want a bigger portfolio, sample.
Well, she had one of the first ones she wrote for us was included Mary Watson and Doyle, which is of the Brooklyn North Murder series.
Is Doyle a robot?
He is. He's an
Okay,
AI bot.
I couldn't
Not a
remember.
robot as in a physical machine,
AI
more
bot.
like AI.
I remember.
I know AI feels like it's everywhere, but Erica did it first, and Erica did it best.
Yeah. So if you thought Mission Impossible used AI badly, the new one, go read Erica. She's got it down.
All right. Ready for the big reveal? Certification. You son of a bitch. I gave you $20 million and you screw me over like this? Rublev nearly knocked over the easel as he lunged for Barry. I sit on charitable boards, you asshole. What the hell have you gotten me into here? Okay, I didn't get anyone into anything. It was you who called my girl, remember? Barry stepped back, holding up both hands. I called your girl because you're screwing around in Abu Dhabi. What were you doing? Trying to sell some arms to terrorists? Rublev snarled. Maggie's stomach sank as she watched Barry's face. Suddenly, she had no doubt that was exactly what he was doing. But she earned $15,000 a year as an adjunct if she was lucky. She really needed this job. Okay, let's take a step back here, Barry said. Maggie is a great girl, but I think she just got a little carried away. You want to see carried away? I'll show you carried away, Rublev shouted. You said you'd handle Phelps Hall. You didn't say you were involved in anything like money laundering networks. Now wait. It's all down to you, Barry said. I wasn't involving you in anything. It was you who went behind my back and pulled the trigger. You should have just been patient. Instead, you had to call my girl and go poking your nose around where it didn't belong. What are you saying? Rublev fumbled for his phone and pulled up the records Maggie had sent him like he was seeing them for the first time. You're telling me this is something more than a setup? You're telling me this is real? I'm telling you, this is none of your business, Barry said. The hell it isn't. These records are on my computer. They're on my damn phone. Young man, I don't know who you are, but I will not allow you to speak like that in front of a Vatican priest. All traces of the Wifty nun vanished as Sister Scholastica drew herself up with the authority of a nun who had once terrorized kindergarten classes. Anthony Grady, I demand you arrest this man. Arrest me? I'll show you who to arrest. Rublev thrust his phone in Grady's face. I've got the goods right here. I'll testify. I'll turn state's evidence. Barry paled. You can't do that. You have no idea what you're dealing with here. No, you're the one who's got no idea, Rublev snarled. I've got friends at the town justice's office, a lot better friends than you do. I'm telling you, you do not want to mess with these kind of people. Barry broke off with a shake of his head. I'm done here. You want to talk to the girl. She's the one who started this mess. He stalked out the door, slamming it behind him. In the stunned silence that followed, all eyes turned to the cop. Well, what are you waiting for, Anthony Grady? Sister Scholastica snapped. Go after him. With all respect, ma'am, I'm only supposed to call it in. Call it in? When the glorious martyrs faced the wheel, did they just call it in? No need, Rublev cut in with the hasty air of a man who is about to make a deal with the hangman. I see no reason we can't handle this quietly among neighbors, just like Barry said. We've got our dismiss after all. Barry Wolff had motive, means, and opportunity. What more proof do you want? Barry was not the only one with all three, Dr. Thomas pointed out. Rublev Properties can hardly be called a disinterested party. And Rublev Properties stands ready to make good on its unfortunate, if completely inadvertent, involvement in this crime. Rublev's spiel grew more assured by the moment. In particular, Rublev Properties intends to take a leadership position in preserving and protecting the cultural treasures of the Hudson Valley, and I can think of no better place to start than with a substantial contribution to Phelps Hall, in the form of a blind charitable trust, naturally, to ensure your order's complete autonomy. Dr. Thomas took her time considering the obvious price that had just been set on her soul, then accepted the offer with a graceful nod. Your sensitivity becomes you. I look forward to what can only be a profitable relationship. As for you, Doctor, I'm sorry I didn't quite catch your name. Rublev stumbled only briefly as he turned his attention to Maggie. It seems we have a sudden opening at the Wolff Group. As the ranking board member, in the wake of our CEO's sudden departure, my first priority must be to find a discreet, superbly informed expert to head up our team. And from what I've seen of your performance here, I have no doubt you are that person. I'll have my people set up a meeting this Monday to go over a package commensurate with your obvious abilities. In other words, Rublev Properties was prepared to make a generous offer for Maggie's soul as well. The only question was, could she take it? The specter of her student loans arose once more. She needed the money. She needed this job. But could she sell her soul as easily as Dr. Thomas had? I'm not really sure I'm the best person, she prevaricated. Of course you're not. I'm sorry, but I cannot stand by and hear this young lady's abilities insulted for another moment. Father Sinclair's voice rang through the chapel with the force of an anthem. Not when the Vatican Museum has such urgent needs of her service. Who? Maggie asked blankly. Father Sinclair raised an eyebrow imperiously. Sure you don't think the Holy See sent me all this way only to referee a local quarrel over a forged painting. We find ourselves in urgent need of an expert appraiser to assist us in tracking the illicit networks that are constantly being spawned in the Vatican's name. Not to mention, we need assistance in tracing the provenance of a cache of manuscripts that is said to come from the lost libraries of Matthias Corvinus, the legendary Raven King of Hungary. Our head archivist has been assured by your former dissertation advisor that you are eminently qualified for the position. Maggie didn't answer. Instead, she studied Father Sinclair just as she had the Vermeer, giving him the eye test, searching for the obvious flaw that would give him away. She was certain everything about the man was a lie. But she was equally certain that when she contacted the Vatican Museum, she would find everything perfectly in order, and that there would be plane tickets waiting to carry her off to an adventure beyond her wildest imaginings. Was Father Sinclair Dismas, the good thief, working for the Vatican Museum? Or was he just Das, the unrepentant one? Why couldn't two such things be true at once? There was only one way to know for sure. All Maggie had to do was say yes. The end.
I don't think I was right or wrong. I think someone said, like, is there an ant on the wall? And some guy walked in and went, what is a wall? And that's the story. And do walls really exist, or are they simply ideas confined within the human mind?
It was a nicely
Yeah.
complicated story. So clearly Barry was doing a lot of bad things.
Barry was doing bad things, but it wasn't the big bad thing.
It
was.
It
okay,
certainly
actually, he
doesn't
was
se-
doing some big bad
he was
things.
doing some big bad things.
Are
But
there
was he
really
dismissed?
terrorists in Abu Dhabi? Is that what the story just suggested?
The story did suggest that he went there to sell arms.
I didn't think they did that. Oh well, I guess it's for the story. It doesn't matter if they're really doing it or not.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that
There's
it's
plenty
the
of
government.
movies where the Greeks are villains for no reason. The
I was
Greeks
gonna
haven't
say,
done anything since
it
like
doesn't mean it's
600 BC.
the government, it's like, underground groups and
Yeah, I suppose.
organizations.
Yeah, but cool. So I get I don't get a point, but no one gets a point because really, what are points? Points are just these American social concepts
Yeah.
that exist simply to provide awards and winners.
Yeah.
And to put down I don't know. Yeah. So I won in my heart.
You won in your heart. That's
My heart.
important. Cool story. So you want to hear about some true crime art theft?
I would love to hear about some true crime art theft.
Okay, so from sources including Deep Sentinel, which is a security service company, my favorite source, Wikipedia, and the Gardner Museum org, there are lots of links in the show notes because I really enjoyed going down this rabbit hole. But we are going to start with the famous art theft that includes a Vermeer, since we just got acquainted with him. So in March 1990, two thieves posed as police, supposedly responding to a disturbance, and were given entry into the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. It's a private home turned museum with an extensive art collection. The thieves bound the two guards in the basement, and 81 minutes later, 13 works were gone. The stolen works include Johannes Vermeer's The Concert, 3 Rembrandts, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, and A Lady and Gentleman in Black, and Edward Manet's Shade to Tourney, plus 5 Degas drawings. The value of the works totaled over $500 million, and none of them have been recovered. The museum is offering a $10 million reward for information leading to the safe return of the pieces. To see the stolen works, follow the links on the Gardner Museum website. One more short story on another favorite artwork of mine, which is Mona Lisa. Jack, I think I'll always like this one, not only because we got to see her in person, but because she's painted by Leonardo da Vinci, which is, I'm a fan. So Mona Lisa was a commissioned painting of Lisa del Giocondo that Leonardo da Vinci never delivered to his customer. The biography of Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson describes how da Vinci developed the painting techniques that he used of using thin layers built up over time that gave her and his other works a unique depth, almost a three-dimensional quality. Painted in the early 1500s, Mona Lisa traveled with da Vinci when he moved to France from Italy as a retainer to the French king, Francis I. Da Vinci died in France in 1519. At least some of his works were sold to the king to provide an inheritance for his heirs. The Mona Lisa was included in those works, and thus she has resided in France since the early 1500s and the Louvre since 1797. I say that because it is pretty common for some artworks to have been stolen from places. And so
What? How could anyone in history steal art?
and Jack
Britain,
gets
France,
gets
Spain,
pretty wrangled about it.
Italy,
So this is not
Netherlands,
an example of
even
stolen
America.
artwork. Jack, yes.
No, it's
does
not
not.
stolen, but still, if I was Italy, I'd demand that back. I'm sure they
No.
have sometime in the past.
It's not theirs.
Is there?
It was legitimately
painter?
stolen. Or stolen.
It
was
was you admit
legitimately
yourself.
sold to
you
France.
Misspoke. I won. The argument's over.
In
You
1911, an Italian handyman who had worked at the Louvre determined to return the Mona Lisa to Italy. He hid in the museum after it closed, and in the morning walked out with her under his clothes.
Good man.
For those who haven't seen the Mona Lisa in person, it is not a big painting. It is about 21 inches wide by 30 inches long, so it's smaller than most posters. At first, there was no panic about the missing painting, as it was assumed it was removed for photographing, which wasn't uncommon. It didn't take long for the Louvre staff to realize the painting was not in the museum. The thief, Vincenzo Perugia, kept the painting for 2 years before he contacted an art dealer about returning it. So today, her enigmatic smile is worth about $860 million. There are lots of links in the show notes because, yes, I was absolutely fascinated.
Wait, but they said themselves in the story. How do you know how much it costs? Because it only depends on how much it costs based on how someone is
willing to pay.
Someone is willing to pay.
Not
But
how much
no
it
one's
costs,
paying
what it's
for it.
worth.
Yeah,
You
but
don't
who
think
can determine
somebody
what
would
it's
pay $860 million for the Mona Lisa?
I'm surprised no one has yet.
It's not for sale.
So in that case, how do you value it? I'm willing to pay this much for it. You can't have it. Well, that's how much it's worth. Then who cares? If it was actually for sale, it'd be a different number. It'd probably be higher.
Probably would be higher.
So these numbers are just as theoretical as the freaking killer of this story.
Okay, so we will use
art
it
thief.
as a rough order of magnitude.
That is such a bullshit phrase right there.
No,
rough
it's not.
order of magnitude.
It is an engineering term
and the
that we
walls
use
don't
all the
really
time.
exist.
It is a rough order of magnitude
What
that she is worth
score?
nearly $1 billion.
Music isn't real.
Nearly as enigmatic as today's author, Erica Obey. So there are 3 places that you can find Erica when she isn't writing: pottering in her garden, out on the trail looking for birds, or taking trivia night far too seriously at the local establishment. She is the author of The Brooklyn North Murder, the first full-length Watson and Doyle mystery, as well as 5 other novels set in the Hudson Valley, including the award-winning The Curse of the Braddock Brides. Erica is the past president of the MWA NY chapter and a frequent reviewer and judge. She holds a PhD in comparative literature, which is why she knows so many damn big words, and published academic work on female folklorists before she decided she'd rather be writing stories herself. That wraps up this episode of Mysteries to Die For. Support our show by subscribing, telling a mystery lover about us, and giving us a 5-star review. Check out our website, m2d4podcast.com, for links to this season's authors. The anthology for the second half of the season releases in October. Add it to your Christmas and Hanukkah list and to your to-be-read list. Mysteries to Die For is hosted by TG Wolff and Jack Wolff. Was It a Vermeer? Was written by Erica Obey. Music and production are by Jack Wolff. Episode art is by TG Wolff. Join us next week for a toe tag, which is the fresh chapter.
Very fresh.
The fresh chapter from a first release in the mystery, crime, or thriller genre. Then come back in 2 weeks for our next original story, where contract arson is the featured murderless crime. It's Slow Burn by Chuck Brownman. All right, Jack, take us out.